Hey guys, welcome back. Lesson 100. Yes, you're almost there. Saxon Algebra 1/2. This is the third edition. We're talking advanced ratio problems. I don't know why that looks kind of like a P there. Here's how we're going to do this. Example number 1, the ratio of nuts to bolts was 11:2. You're probably familiar with that. Remember, a ratio is just a fraction. So nuts to bolts equals 11:2. You are on the right page for these guys. However, you've got one extra step you have to do here. After you do this, you got to do your total. And in this case, that total is 13. 11 plus 2 more would give us 13. So the ratio of nuts to bolts, 11:2. If there were 260 nuts and bolts in the pile, how many were bolts? So we're looking for the number of bolts. So I'm going to throw an X right here. The other information we were given here is that there are 260 nuts and bolts. That means there were not 260 nuts, there were 260 total, like this. So we get this little table here where we can do a ratio now. A proportion where we compare two ratios. So we get this guy right here. We get 2/13 equals x over 260. You want to be real careful that you're not using 11/2 in this. Cross cancel or cross multiply, we get 3x equals 260. That's going to be 5,200. Divide this by 13. Divide this by 13, and x equals, let's just make sure I don't mess this up, 520 divided by 13 gives me 40. So there are 40, and we go back and we look at the question, and it says how many were bolts? There are 40 bolts. 40 bolts. Well, how many were nuts then? So we know that there's 260 total. That means 260 minus 40 is going to equal 220 nuts. Now, that's not part of the question, but it's good that you're able to see that that's where that comes from. Let's try another one of these. So Farmer Dunkowski, not even sure what that name is, wanted to plant his farm with wheat and corn in the ratio of 7 to 9 acres. Wheat and corn, and be sure you're going in the right order here, right? It started with wheat to corn is 7 to 9. So that's why it's really important we do that. Now let's throw on a total in case we need it. That is going to give us 16. If he had 640 acres, how many should be planted in wheat? Well, we know we're looking for wheat right here, so I'm going to put an X here. And then this other information that we're given, 640, that is the total number of acres that he has. So we're going to put that number right down here. So this corn, totally not even, you don't even need that. What we do have now, though, is 7/16 equals x over 640. So we are going to cross multiply. 16x equals 640 times 7 gives me 4,480. So 4,480. Divide both sides by 16 so we can get that x by itself. So divide by 16 and we end up with 280. X equals 280. We go back and we look at the question and it says how many should be planted in wheat? 280 acres should be planted in wheat. All right, excellent. Let's take a look at the third example that we have here. Example number 3, we'll call that. Example number 3. When the race began, let's see if I can get this in there. Move the mouse out of the way. When the race began, the ratio of professionals to amateurs was 2 to 17. Professionals to amateurs was 2 to 17. Now let's go ahead and throw in a total just to make sure. Total, so that gives us 19. If 3,800 racers were in the race, how many were amateurs? How many were amateurs? So we're going to be looking for amateurs here. So we've got X, and then this information tells us that that was the total number of racers. So we're going to put 3,800 here. So this guy right up here, that professional, we don't even need it, just needed it at the beginning to give us our total. So what we have now is 17/19 equals x over 3,800. Let's cross multiply. 19x equals, okay, good. 3,800 times 17 is 646 with 2 zeros. Okay, now to get that x by itself. Don't drop your calculator. We're going to divide both sides by 19. We get x equals, stand by, divided by 19, we get 3,400. So that makes sense because professionals, there's 2 for every 17 amateurs. So that means there are a lot of amateurs. And that's exactly what we were looking for. How many were amateurs? 3,400 racers were amateurs. All right, guys, here's the practice problem. It is on page 312 if you're following along at home. Go ahead and pause the video, do that, and then come on back and let's see what we got. All right, the ratio of big ships to small ships in the harbor, big ships to small ships, was 2 to 9. 2 to 9. That means our total was 11. If there were 242 ships in the harbor, that means total number of ships in the harbor. How many were big ships? So we're looking for that. How many were small? Well, let's start with our big ships. We've got 2. I want this over this equals this over this. 2 over 11 equals x over 242. Multiply, cross multiply, we get 11x equals, I always make silly mistakes on these, so even though it seems like an easy one, I just want to make sure. 484. 484, good. And if we divide both of these by 11, x equals 44. Double check, because I make mistakes. Yeah, good. Phew. X equals 44. Again, that x represented big ships. So there are 44 big ships. Now, we could go back and we could do small ships here. Let's call small ships y. And you could do 9 over 11, this over this equals this over this, equals y over 242. So we get 11y equals 242 times 9, which gives us 2,178. Divide that by 11. We get, so divide by 11, cancels out, divide by 11, y equals 198. Now this is going to be small ships, right? So if we've done this correctly, small and big will total 242 ships, and that's exactly what happened. 198 plus 44 gives us 242. All right, guys, good work. Go ahead and do those problems, and if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, thanks so much.